All right, so what we've got here are our two pieces of paper. We've already seen the one that has the pre-made grid on here. Eventually you guys will be able to do this. And then we have our blank piece of paper. What you guys are going to need to do first thing is on your blank piece of paper, you're going to need to set up a similar grid to what you have over here. Now, the grid can be the size of your choosing, but this particular grid is 1.5 inches. So if you want to set up and redraw this same exact drawing, the same exact size, you need the same exact grid. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll start by measuring out across my page 1.5 inch marks. And I'm just going to put a dot with my pencil on each of those spots. And I want to make sure that I'm as accurate as possible. I don't want to be off by, a 1/4 of an inch or something like that. Otherwise, my project's not really going to work. So I've done the one side here, keeping my ruler the same direction. I'm not flipping it around and going back the other way. I'm keeping my ruler the same direction. I'll go through and I'll label the opposite side here. Again, making sure that I do 1.5 inches each time. And you really want to take your time with this because it's easy to go fast and rush and accidentally make a mistake and get your measurements wrong. All right? I'll do the exact same thing across the bottom. And then I'll work across the top. And as you're looking at this from distance, you probably can't see the little marks that I've made very well. And that's okay, because really you're going to come back and be connecting them later with complete lines. But if you look along the edge of my paper here, you'll see these little dots that are measured 1.5 inches apart. So now to go in and make your grid, what you have to do is take your ruler, and really what you're going to have is a series of connecting the dots. Just opposite sides will create the line. So I'll go from my first dot on the top of my page down to the bottom. And I'll do that for all of my lines. Now, at this point, if you don't connect the dots in an accurate way, if your lines or your dots kind of go off or you miss a spot, it's going to mess up your drawing as you move on with the process. Because what you're going to have are squares that are not the same. And really, you're trying to fit the same image into the same size squares. If you thought about this in three-dimensional terms, and I had a bowl of soup, and the first soup bowl was one size, and it was filled all the way to the top, and the second soup bowl was a smaller size, and I tried to pour the soup into that second bowl, it would spill out. It wouldn't fit. Well, we have the same issue with our grid here. If your squares are not the same size or equal in proportion, your drawing is not going to fit. So you really want to take your time with this process. I'm even going a little bit too quick, but that's just for the demonstration. So if you take a look again here, you'll have your grid that matches the grid for the picture. All right? This grid is a little bit larger, but it's okay because it's still in proportion. All I have to do now is count out my squares to make sure I have the right number. So if I look across, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down the side. Check over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So both of my grids are 6 by 8. So I'm ready to start transferring my drawing. What I want to do when I actually do the transfer here is I'm going to go square by square, working my way across, just drawing what's in the one square. It's very important that you kind of block out the rest of the drawing as you do this. I'm not just doing the drawing on top of a grid. I'm going square by square doing the drawing. So if I look at square number 1, there's nothing there. It's just background. So in my square number 1 for my homemade grid, I don't need to draw anything in there. When I get to square number 2, I see that there's some hair, and I notice the hair intersects the line about 2/3 of the way up in this particular square. I'm going to go to my new square, go to about 2/3 of the way up, and I'm going to start drawing in the edge of that hair and have it intersect with my grid on the same spot, so that I just have this line that kind of goes through that part of the grid. I'll move on to my next square. I'll do the same thing. I'll look at my drawing. Notice that it kind of bows just a little bit. Find my intersection. I'll move on to my next square. I just catch a little piece here. And I finish the top part of my drawing. So again, if I zoom in, what you'll see is that the top squares are represented in my new grid drawing. Really what's happening here is you have the ability to make sure that each particular square is a lot more accurate, because you can kind of zoom in on the details. Today, what I'm going to be asking you to do is create your own grid paper. I'll provide that for you, and there should be rulers at your table. And then I have a couple different handouts that you can use as a practice drawing. This is not your final drawing. If it's not a person that you like, don't worry about it. You'll get to choose one that you're happier with. All right.